Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Odd Jobs, Forgotten Career Detours. I'm your host, St. Ruggles, and I have a wonderful two guests here, multiple guests. I have my dad back in action on here, Joe Ruggles, and we have the lovely Deirdre Greenfield for her very first time on the show. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, for having you guys, both of you guys are real estate agents. I know that my dad's been at 40 years now.
40.
Yeah,
I was
40.
10 when I started. It was incredible.
He was a phenom,
That's right.
a child prodigy.
Child
It
prodigy.
really was.
I picked it up real fast.
Yeah, my first word was escrow.
Picked
I love
it up.
it.
And then, Deirdre, how long have you been in the business for?
Well, do you want me to give you my little history? Because that's Odd Job, part of Odd Jobs.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I actually came to Georgia in 1989 and got my real estate license originally because my sister and her husband opened a office down in St. Simons. And speaking of hurricanes, blew me into Atlanta, Hurricane Hugo. I met my husband, Ken, in 1990 and kind of went off the path there and got involved with his family business. And so we made that a career and semi-retired about 7 years ago, or longer for him. But
7 years, wow.
so I decided to pick back up my real estate career and have been full-time now since 2018, and they reinstated my license, and so here I am.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm with Ansley Real Estate Christie's International, if we want to plug there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, of course, we've got Dad with also representing New South Residential.
New South Residential, where I'm the qualifying broker and owner.
Mm-hmm. And, Dad, how long have you been a broker for?
Oh, my gosh, since 1986. How many years is that?
Quick math.
Longer than I've been in the business.
Yeah,
Again, a
started in
child phenom.
83
Yeah.
and then decided to just, I like the education piece of it. I honestly did, which I think a lot of new agents do. Matter of fact, Nikki's doing that right now. We're having her take a real estate course. How do you find that, Nikki?
It's drags at times, I'm not going to lie. Law and learning all of that is a little tricky, but that's okay. It's all right. It's still, it's intriguing to learn your world, and also because I know a decent bit from having been around it my entire life.
Exactly.
So there's certain things that pop up, and I'm just like, oh, I know this. This is easy.
You got this.
Yeah.
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 There's
So-
nothing like running out to family dinner and bringing a sign and lockbox along and having one of your kids drop it in the front yard.
I love it.
Oh, yeah.
She's been around that her whole life, or remodels and that kind of thing. But what's interesting about this course, and I'll put a plug in too, for Barney Fletcher Schools, who I think very highly of. They do a nice job. Their
Yeah.
online course has been incredibly thorough. And when Nikki gets to the test portion, I try to take it after her just to kind of see if I'd miss any, or if I can guess at some of them. But it's true, the language we use in real estate, and some of that is so, I'm so glad for my friends that are attorneys that I can call.
Yeah. It's a lot of legalese.
Yeah, it really is, it really is. So that's what we fall back on, is try not to practice law and,
Exactly.
You know,
Let them
call the right people.
do their job.
yeah. And I think that's probably a key to success. And if you talk to some of the top producers, top business people like you guys are, you really have to let people do what they're good at.
I agree.
Versus, we could all go out and buy, there's a bad example for what we're doing today, but we could go buy expensive film equipment and take pictures of houses, but I just don't think it'd turn out as beautiful as some of these photo shoots.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned you got a big one coming tomorrow?
Yes, I have a listing coming in Creekstone Estates, and it's 8,000 square feet of beautiful home, and we're getting it staged. And
Wow.
this week has been, I think we were in the house about 5 hours yesterday, getting things ready, and it really doesn't have that much furniture. It's amazing, even when you don't have a lot of furniture, how much square space you have to fill up in that capacity to get it camera ready, but then bring other professionals in, stagers and like No Vacancy, who does a beautiful job with vacant homes,
Yes.
and virtual staging, things like that. That yes, leave it to the professionals who.
Yeah.
But sometimes, some small jobs, I try to help in that arena best I can.
Yeah, Christina Bell and her team, they do
Yes.
a wonderful job. They've been at it for many years. They're professional stagers, but we like that little house. We just had that house that we remodeled in downtown
Oh, yeah.
Alpharetta that you guys came to see. And, in these open floor plans, when they're small, I mean, you really have to show people how furniture fits in there. I don't think it would have
was
sold
beautiful.
if it didn't get staged.
That's what I was going to ask, because especially my brother has been looking for houses, and with him looking, you know, we've been seeing them, and I've been seeing the digitally staged ones versus the regular staged ones. So I wanted to ask your opinion on which one do you think is better for that?
Oh, good question.
Well, I think virtual has a place, you know, for some smaller places, just for people to get a visual online, because that's the way people shop for homes now, is online. So for them to get a visual right out the gate, it helps them to draw them into that home and see themselves in that home. And so I think having some kind of space online in regard to, you know, staging, things like that, I think that's probably key. And I think for larger homes, you know, if they're able to, I think a staging is a wise idea as much as they can. So there's lots of different benefits. People like to walk into a home, I think, that has, you know, warmth about it, and they can visualize themselves being in the space. So it just really depends on budget and just a lot of those little conversations, what might be good for, you know, the seller, what they can do, things like that.
Yeah, I agree completely. We really use it more of a supplemental. I do, where it's, you know, maybe I'll buy a package where the master bedroom and bath and the kitchen area, seating area are must, you know, or living area. And then the secondary bedrooms, will stage those virtually. Because people can walk in and can say, okay, you know, I can see what size room it is.
They can see themselves.
Yeah, so you don't have to do the whole entire house. Now, that's more of a mid-range, which, average price range up in North Fulton is what, probably $700 now, or $750 or something.
Yeah,
$750 for anybody listening out of state, $750,000, and so our $1 million luxury market up and above. Yeah, sometimes honestly, their furniture is so beautiful in some of these houses, you know, some of the country club communities, that you don't have to do a whole lot, but there's still. And this is one of the topics I wanted to kind of go into was, you know, getting a house ready to sell. That's kind of the big conversation with the first meet is like, you know, we got to declutter, just thin. Less is more. And
Absolutely.
It doesn't really matter on the price range. You really got to take out the personal.
right.
And the reason for that, which took me a while to figure out, because people go, why do I have to take down a picture of my kid? And
Yeah.
Well, it's because it's a distraction.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like I've had houses, people go through and they go, oh, look, they were in Aspen for vacation, and they were here for that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look at the house.
Oh, I know.
You can meet the people later and hang out with them.
Yeah. I recently sold a home in Lawrenceville, and their wedding pictures were so done beautifully. It looked like a decorative photo in that sense. So we actually decided to leave that and take all the other pictures down, because it looked like art on the wall. So it was, so sometimes, you know, again, you have to kind of, sometimes you can step out and say, okay, is it better just to leave that so then it's not a blank space? And of course you could, you know, exchange it out for something, but I agree, taking everything personal. I try to tell people the plan is for you to move, right? So let's just get you ready. So
Start
anything
moving.
that you can clear out, closets, you know, garage, I mean, everything that you can, and even if you can't get it from the garage to somewhere else, fill up the garage with everything and clear everything out as much as you can. Personal items, you know, pictures, things like that, I think.
Yeah, it's a good time to clear too. You know, to just you know, be a good person, donate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did have a stager.
Let's plug Fur Kids. We love Fur Kids.
Oh, yes. Yeah. We got our baby Nestle from Fur Kids. So
Did
yes.
you really?
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh.
But just real quick, I had another listing. Person had beautiful furniture, but we just wanted to make sure that, you know, $1 million or more property, even if it's not, sometimes having a professional stager that can just come in and kind of work with the space you have already and what furniture you might have already, or just make suggestions to move things around. Or so that's another kind of avenue that I think is a good thing to take the realtor out of the equation of having to have that conversation with somebody. Sometimes I recommend, hey, let's, you know, what do you think about bringing in somebody that might be able to give you some ideas about staging?
Yeah, I agree. Especially, you know, kind of moving it more into baby boomers, for example, that are
Oh,
big,
yeah.
big move down market now.
Mm-hmm.
And, so here's somebody who's had things that have been in their family forever and they're antiques that they love. And, I'm sure they're beautiful pieces, but there's so much of it, then usually as a male coming in there, sometimes it's not so well received talking to a woman who's got a lot of things she loves in her home.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'll definitely bring in somebody in to kind of be that buffer in between and definitely be my voice.
This is when I think it's really good to have exactly
because I'm like, get rid of it.
It's all good, Joe. I can't imagine you offending anybody that way.
Oh,
so
thank you.
You're good. But I think it's good to know people too, because you have stagers and like Perry Benson with Benson Estate Sales and Liquidations.
Oh, nice, yeah.
He goes in and helps people, kind of clear out the clutter and talk to them about, having an estate sale. Now, Ansley being affiliated with Christie's International, we're able to also offer, another avenue for people, with artwork or things that might be of even more value, in the kind of art world or auction world. We're able to have Christie's come in and kind of look at those pieces of art or, jewelry or things like that.
Very
any kind
cool.
of collectibles. Yeah. Everybody has collectibles in a large house with, all your, bigger homes. You tend to have more collectibles because you have spaces to put it in.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is a wonderful component to that because sometimes you just don't know what something's worth, that it's, and sometimes it's worth a lot less than you think it is. But
Right.
Well, I know, for instance, the most recent time that we were all together, you were looking at one of our friends' houses trying to sell it, and it was right in the target range of what you had just sold. So I thought that was just like so cool to be like, hey, as a fellow professional, a fellow friend, I need your outside opinion as well on it. And I mean, it was so cool to see both of you guys in the zone. You guys were like hardcore realtor mode, ready to go.
Oh, and we went,
Yeah.
Well, I think that happens if I like there where I get outside of what I consider to be kind of my wheelhouse is like North Fulton. I've been in, I'm sure North Fulton, about every neighborhood there is, and Dunwoody over all these years. But when I get a little further out, and I know some in-town pockets pretty good, but they, all that changes with things that are going on. But I don't do much in West Cobb or any of that, so I definitely would have to enroll somebody to kind of tell me, hey, do you think, if the numbers don't look right, what do you think about it?
Well, I agree, and we did. You asked me, I asked you, and we, of course, a lot of realtors. Same thing. You call people, and I had a similar situation where I had a listing up in Jasper, a Bent Tree community, and we're under contract now, which I'm thrilled for my sellers. Yay! But it's things have kind of shifted a little bit where people are settling in either in town or I call myself town and country now.
I love it.
I'm in town and in the country.
I love it. You should really brand yourself that.
It's like wherever you need to be, I can help you with your real estate needs. Well, it's that you've got the local, which we're local in different areas, and then you're kind of regional, and then you become state, and then national and then international. And we all either know people or know how to get in touch with people. And, the Christie's brand is around the world. I mean, so, there's referrals and things like that too. But what I was getting back to about Jasper is, just kind of knowing that area a little bit, but then also digging deep into the Bent Tree community. I called either local agents who live there. We also have Ansley agents that live in the community, and was able to talk with them and get some insight and thoughts. And so they were always great to talk to.
How do you? Sorry to jump on you, Nikki.
Good.
How do you find that market up there? I mean, it's because for a while there, especially during COVID,
everybody
was running up to Blue Ridge and
and
Jasper and LJ and just.
Jasper is, I know a lot about the area now, which I'm thrilled to know because North Georgia and Jasper is a little bit different community. Blue Ridge is a little bit further up, but Jasper is still close enough to the city of Atlanta that you're an hour from downtown. I mean, so you're still within a good range. But yes, during COVID, people were, running to the country. things were flying off the shelf. And as we've kind of come out of that market and people are settling down, most people have gone into the area looking for anything like under 350 is their little, their town, their country, their country place.
Yeah, yeah. Can you get something for $350 up there?
Well, you can get some 2 bedrooms up there, and ours, this one was listed at $575, and so the other part of that is this was a larger home for maybe a family or an empty nester looking to have a large enough home in the country so that they can have guests and things like that. So there was a lot of so there's kind of different. There's a lot of little, I don't want to say avenues, but you're kind of going back to a normal range of, people looking for their country place or looking to live there, but they want a bigger space or they want it to look a certain way. So buyers are being a little bit, I don't want to say picky, but they're just looking around a little bit more specifically. They're not just fleeing, give me the whatever I can find.
Yeah. And right now, from what I've seen too, it's a seller's market. Right. So because it's just the houses are just there's not enough of them. And it's the houses go by so fast and there's always so many contracts on it and that have appeared, especially seeing Neil go through it has been wild because he's been putting in different contracts and everything. But it's just, whichever one gets
Yeah, it's been a ride with buyers. That's a good conversation there.
Yes. I think.
Yeah, I just wonder, so from both of your standpoints, you guys have been in the business for a long time. How have you seen, what do you think of how the market has been moving from, let's say, when you guys first started in Georgia and then from now?
Yeah, or maybe even last year, that's a big jump too.
Yeah, let's shorten it. We'll just say gloss over a little bit of in your
from 3.5% interest rate, everybody's hair on fire to buy a house. To double 7.5.
Well, I think it's become more of a normal, it's still a seller's market, and I think still location, pricing, conditions is still going to bring your multiple offers, whether you're in town or out of town or town and country, whichever, condo or multi-million dollar. It's, some of the multi-million dollar, of course, is, that gets real specific with your buyers, but I think there's still a lot of that going on with multiple offers, but it's like, it's not the frenzy, but some places it is. I mean, I've had buyers and where we were out in Lawrenceville and Swanee and those areas that it's people are coming in. I had an open house. It's like one right after family after family after family, and so there's still multiple offers. It just depends on where.
Atlanta's still strong. People ask me about that, and I heard that stat the other day. They said last month 14,000 people or something or other moved to the city of Atlanta, and I guess the Beltline. And this is in your wheelhouse, not mine. I don't know that much. I mean, I think you've shown me the Beltline is the only reason why I know where it's at. So, but I mean, I read about it all the time in the paper, and so it seems like people are starting to come back into the office on a hybrid situation, and I think that's what you're seeing nationally now too, that employers, and what we're hearing out of big commercial is that people are renewing their leases, but they're small. They're not taking up, a whole floor or whatever. They're taking up smaller space and then giving people flexible, because that's what the workers are wanting right now. A lot of them are saying they'll quit if they don't get to work out of the house. And
I think there's a balance going on with that whole conversation, because we were just watching a program the other day where even Amazon is saying, okay, everybody needs to come into the office at least 3 days a week. So I think that's going to drive people to be in certain areas. I know there's a lot of people that want to live close to where they work. And so I think what I find interesting now, living in Buckhead and then, being out in the perimeter and out into the suburbs, I think a lot of those areas are becoming, they've got their downtown areas. They're kind of creating this world within these cities around Atlanta that what people want, like a walkable area.
Work, live, play. That we're seeing out
work, live, play.
Yeah, up in North Fulton, we're seeing that, of course, with Avalon, and then as they go blank up the road, they've got
Halcyon.
That's the word I was looking for. Thank you.
Gotcha.
And I mean, the Beltline's still very popular. Again, it just depends on location and condition and pricing. And so that's still very active and busy, and they're still growing. It's still, there's still a lot going on down there. So it's just, I think it's people deciding where they want to be. Like if they want to be in Midtown, Buckhead, downtown, Kirkwood, Reynolds, there's just all sorts of
lots of options. Yeah.
Summerhill. I mean, the whole Georgia State has just grown tremendously. With them picking up having the football stadium down
that's
there.
fantastic.
Now. I mean,
Go Panthers.
yes. Well,
Yeah.
yes.
And back to your question
Neil,
too.
shout out to Neil.
Yeah, shout out to Neil Ruggles. And what people come up and they ask me, they say, well, how's the market? You must be dying. It's got to be rough. And it's mostly mortgage people that are asking me this. And I'm
getting a lot of phone calls from
them. I get a kind of a tickle out of that because their business was substantially refinances. Was probably 90% of the business, and realtors were 10%.
Yeah. Now
that the refis have stopped, we've become very important. So any of you loan officers out there that would like to take us out for cocktails.
Coffee.
Yeah, trips. We're open. Kidding. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. So people say, well, how's the market compared to a year ago? And when we had 19, 20 offers on properties, and it just seemed to me like so impossible. Great to be a seller, but as a buyer, now just thinking from a buyer standpoint, because I've got some first-time home buyers that are friends of my kids, of Nikki and Neil, that are buying properties. And what I tell people is that, it's easier to buy a house than it was a year ago because now we're only seeing 8 or 9 offers on a house versus 19 or 20. But still, 8 or 9, you got to be number one. And I know you've had a lot of success. I've even called you up for, just like, what tips are you getting? Because Deirdre had during the fire last year.
Yeah.
You had a lot of success beating out 20 agents. And do you have any just quick tips for agents that might be listening to us? Yeah,
that'd be great.
Well, I can tell you that there was one house that I was working with a buyer who there was 58 offers. I mean, that's when offers were, insane. So
hard to believe, isn't it? 58.
58.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's not just one agent. It's an agent, a buyer, the parents, everybody. I mean, that's a lot of people to a house. You can charge admission.
I think I know. We pulled up to an open house, it was an open house, and it was literally the front yard was flooded with people. The inside was packed. It was like a party. I was like, okay, what's going on? It was crazy.
Yeah.
But I think that's still some activity. But I think a lot of it is realtors being prepared ahead of time, and what does that look like for that realtor to be prepared? Knowing what the buyer wants, knowing. I think talking to the buyer and getting them prepped to go into battle. I mean, because it is. It's like, okay, how badly do you want this house? Because, the good thing is I think for buyers now is they're allowed now to ask for, due diligence and finance contingency and appraisal contingency. There's still some of that. It's not with the 7 or 8 or 9 offers, but there's still some leeway with some of those, just depending, because sometimes I think communicating with the agent on the other side, finding out what the sellers, what their expectations are. Are they, do they not want any contingencies? Do they not want, just preparing your buyer and if the buyer, and also helping the buyer to understand, this is what we're going in with, and if you don't feel comfortable, then let's go find you another house. And that's what we've done sometimes with some of the other homes that may not be as flashy and pretty, but if they're willing to do some work, I've helped to guide buyers, help them understand that they've got, ways that they can look at a house. And, here's a house that may not have as many buyers, but there's some things that may need to be worked on. We could probably write an offer and with a due diligence and contingencies and not have that competition if you want to go that route, or if you want to go this route and you really want this house that has all the buttons and whistles already in play, what does that look like for you?
That's a good point that I'm finding too, and that's and it's interesting you said about preparation, because that's when I used to train real estate agents, whether at Palmer House Properties or Real Executives, or when we had our own different firms we've owned.
Yeah.
It's the definition of luck, when preparation meets opportunity.
Yes.
And that's literally what you described when you're talking about how you're going to get your people lucky because you're preparing them for when that opportunity comes up. And that opportunity could look, and that's what I tell buyers, that's The buyers really, the most of the millennials, in which they're controlling the market right now. I mean, they are just absolutely the buying force behind it. And with millennials, the majority of them, I'd say, not to classify it as, but I think I have a lot of people agree with me. They want it in excellent shape. They don't want to do a lot of work and repairs. They want gigafast internet, and technology is important to them. So I tell my sellers all the time, they're like, well, I want to take my Ring doorbell. And I'm like, why? It was $100.
Yeah.
Leave it.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and they're impressed by it. They see a Ring doorbell, or they see a thermostat. It's like one last thing they have to buy. And to you, you probably had it 5 years. It's probably old technology now. That's probably first gen Ring doorbell. Give it up, you know?
Yes.
And it's a selling feature for them.
Oh, absolutely. I think, yes.
So if they can move in and plug in, a way to go. Now, I have taken a number of my clients that we just had struggles with finding a property, getting beat out on the perfect houses because they were going for 20 or 30,000 above list, where last year that would have been 100 or 125,000 above. This year it's 25 or 30, and this is like that 500 range, kind of that sweet spot in the market.
Yeah.
So that's the first time home buyer here really is like unbelievable to some of our folks that are listening out there that, a $350,000 house, it equates to about what rent is,
Right.
about $2,500 a month.
Yeah,
So.
I think getting the word out to buyers, please jump in the arena right now, because prices are only going to go up higher. Interest rates, yes, they may come down, but you can always refinance. What's the saying? Marry the house, date the rate. And so that really is. It really is.
Might have to say that one again. Marry the house.
Marry the house, date the rate.
Yes. Yeah.
Interest rate.
So you can break up.
Yes,
You can break up with the rate.
Date the rate.
Date the rate. Yeah, you can break up with the rate. I mean, because that's part of the conversation with the finance, gurus, lack of better words for them. But they have come in and said, they're predicting, just looking at history, where interest rates may be coming down in the next couple of years. So I would say, because if we want to get into that conversation real quick, because if as soon as interest rates go down, there's so many people waiting on the sidelines to buy.
Yes,
They're going to come in, and it's just going to cause a whole nother thing. So you're better if you're a buyer right now and you're thinking, just do it. I
agree.
Yeah, I'm not being pushy in any way. We're looking at all the factors down the road.
Yeah, and I certainly don't have the crystal ball, or we'd be doing this
Right,
on my boat right now. My really big yacht. I think.
A little sidebar there.
Right. Yeah. But it's like I tell buyers is that one, there's a couple parts. Well, this is part of my first time home buyer thing I give them before we start out, and that's that. I can help you find a house. I can show you. I'm here to protect your backside, to tell you, do I think it's a good investment? Are you paying too much? Or do I, we're going to get inspected and look at it. Do I think you're going to be safe in this? But as far as how does it feel? Does it feel right to you? It would be like if we went out shopping, you could try on a dress, I could try on a suit, and I'd be like, hey, Deirdre, you look awesome.
Right.
But I can't tell you how that dress feels.
Right.
And that's the way houses are. It's that intimate. It's like it's got to be really something that you're going to dig living there. You're going to love living there. You're going to feel safe.
Yeah.
It's your place. So like you said, marry the house, and the interest rates now, I do think, again, I don't have the crystal ball, but running into election years, we've been through enough of them to see it doesn't matter what your politics are, that, politicians are going to push for the best economic situation coming into an election. And so I wouldn't be surprised if gasoline prices drop and interest rates drop next spring or summer, or maybe summer.
Well, that's the thought during with a recent symposium that I was listening to, and that's what they were talking about, these finance kind of gurus, lack of better words. They've been in this for a long time, and looking back even to the 1970s and, kind of moving forward, they do think that the interest rates are going to go down next year, and then the year after. But
I've heard 6.5 is what I've been reading. I don't think we'll see sub 6, do you?
Well, that's their thought, but who knows? Because even in the spring, this past spring, lenders were saying, oh, the rates are going to go down. Well, we're not down right now. So it's a little higher than where we thought we would be right now. So that's supposedly, who knows? My thing is, I look at the rates every day, but I don't make that the reason why I get out there and talk to people,
Right.
because there's
So
just
true.
too many other variables that are so specific to buyer and seller. I think there's so many people moving into Atlanta now. You've got just reasons for moving, lifestyle. You may have to leave town. You may, somebody's having another baby. They need more room. The empty nesters have finally realized, like Ken and I, we don't want to live in a bigger house. We love our one level living. So
Yeah. And that,
Well,
anyway.
we're almost out of time. So last minute tips you would say for either buyers, sellers, or real estate agents at this time?
say just what I just said a minute ago in regard to just kind of put your blinders on for the moment. And if you have to move, or you're thinking about moving, or you're thinking about selling, quite frankly, we need inventory, and there's a lot of buyers out there. There's lots of marketing channels. And so I'd say to look at your world personally, take away all the noise that's out there, and let's just look at your specific situation and make it work for you.
Yeah, that's what's so cool about Deirdre, which I love you, Deirdre, and I love Ken, her husband, that we've known for so many years. But the mindset that you see that is so fantastic, it really is. That one of the things you're saying so many things here that are kind of bringing up old memories of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's, I remember when I was first starting out in the business, and I was so young, and I was like. I'd look at interest rates, they're 15, 16%. And I was like, nobody's going to buy a house at this, and I'd let it get into my head, instead of like, people have got to move. It might be a divorce. It might be a marriage. It might be having a baby. I mean, there's life events that happen, estate sales. I mean, life just pushes forward, So as a real estate agent, don't let that get in your head. And then I'd say as a buyer as well, don't let all this get in your head. I love that. Love that. Marry a house. So let's get you married off to a house.
And sellers, use that equity. Like, this is the time to do that too. So
No, it really is. Exciting time
there's a
for
place for
sellers,
you.
because we're, in just a couple of stories, but, a couple young guys that I know that are friends of my sons, and also my son too. We've got him a foreclosure like 7 years ago or something for 180 over in Roswell. And it was barely livable.
Yeah.
But, he was single and dirty.
So he was a young bachelor with an income.
Get a box and, make it an end table,
Absolutely.
Get yourself and you're going to cover this up with beer and parties and stuff anyhow. What do you care? So he slowly put money into it. Anyhow, we're going to go on the market with it for $450.
Wow.
So he's going to put a piece of change in his pocket. So that's
awesome.
And I just had another young man that, he was like 160,000 after owning a house for maybe 4 years. That is a magnitude of difference for a young person.
Oh,
if
absolutely.
you can protect that money, and certainly go to people that will advise you properly, like two of them that are sitting here.
Yes.
We would love to talk to you about how to get into a home. And that's how, especially when I have folks, sorry, I'm doing a long wrap up here. But like when I have relocation, when I used to work a lot of relocation, I have people in with Coke and UPS and these big companies. We drive them around, and they said, Joe, how do people afford all these big houses in Atlanta? And I said, well, start at the first, and like my man did, picks up that 130, buys another one, makes more. That's how you buy big houses.
That's what we did.
Get in the game. Get in the game.
Yeah.
So that's what I would close with. Get in the real estate game.
If you want to get into it, you gotta get that ball rolling.
You want to build wealth.
Yes.
You want to love life. You want to live a better life.
Yeah.
Marry a house.
Marry a house. Is that a wrap?
That's well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for
It's
being
been
on.
fun.
Appreciate it. Thank you for all of our listeners, as always.
Yeah,
And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Nikki.